My name is Chief Chris Settle. I'm the police chief here in the town of Culpeper. Just a little bit about me. I'm on my 30th year at the Culpeper Police Department. That'll come into play a little bit later. I do have my Deputy Chief Nick White sitting over here, and also have Michelle Walczyk who's sitting over here. She's our LPR coordinator. So she kind of is our SME, subject matter expert on LPRs, and handles all of our internal audits and the state audits that's required. We'll talk about all that later. First of all, for those of you guys that were never seen here before, welcome to the Culpeper Police Department. It's nice seeing good faces. We're glad you're here. We're glad that you come visit us. Hopefully you eat a lot of chicken and some lemonade and teas out there. Bathrooms in that hallway. For those that have never been here before, bathrooms are in the hallway right there. And the only thing I'd like to add before we get started is Culpeper is a unique place. We do an excellent job at governance, and we are excellent as far as governance and civility, right? So I expect the same today. Culpeper is a great place. So during this town hall, we'll be respectful of each other and respectful of each other's time and opinions and so forth. So kind of format I have for you guys tonight, and I'll talk about the format first. We have an LPR presentation here. A lot of it is to getting you guys to know how the Culpeper Police Department uses ALPR technology, and how, more importantly, how we address individual privacy concerns, and also how we provide proper governance of this technology, right? Among the other many technologies that we use here at the Culpeper Police Department and law enforcement agencies across the country use. But first of all, our main goal is for us to listen to you guys, listen to your concerns, answer your questions, listen to your comments, and we'll talk about that. To educate, right? There's some misinformation out there. We want to make sure that the right information, the facts that you guys have for us, and maybe some facts that we have for you, all gets relayed in a positive, civil manner. Also, we're going to address individual privacy concerns, proper governance, as we said, and then we'll talk about some successful outcomes. We have probably maybe over 1,000 successful outcomes. Now, we're going to go through 1,000 cases tonight. We are going to highlight, though, some successful cases where successful cases were resolved, arrests were made, we're able to bring that Alzheimer's patient back to his family using ALPR technology. So presentation. So during the presentation, it is rather lengthy. So what I plan on doing is taking some breaks. There's some good stopping points in there, and so you can't remember all these questions at the end, right? So we have some stopping points. You can ask some questions. We have some breaks, and then at the end, there are some comments and concerns, and you can kind of address those as well. We can have that dialogue, right? I think community dialogue and sharing information and having conversations like this is very important. I think it's essential for a police department to run successfully in a community is to have dialogue with the citizens. So we do appreciate you guys being here. I like having dialogue, and I love meeting new people. So I'm very excited. So we have some staff in the back as well too. So they're going to see how much I mess up tonight and blow this up. That's okay. We'll wing it. So first part, any questions going forward? Hopefully, as we go through this presentation, what questions and concerns you have in your head right now will get answered with the presentation. But again, we'll have a break during those times.
Is Sheriff Chilton using these?
We'll talk about that as we go. So hopefully, we're going to ask questions, so we'll talk about that. First of all, Culpeper Police Department. A lot of people don't know this. ALPR technology has been around for about 30 years. Law enforcement agencies have been using ALPR technology for 30 years. We at the police department, I try to track back to when we first got our first LPR program, was over 20 years ago. We started using LPR systems. Back then, there was the LSAG, what's called an LSAG system. LSAG was the vendor. LSAG has now been bought by Leonardo. We'll talk about Leonardo later in the presentation. So over 20 years ago, we were using this investigative tool. We were able to provide solvability to many cases here in the town of Culpeper and beyond. It goes beyond during this time period. For those 20 plus years, from probably 2005, 2006 and beyond, we didn't have any documented cases of misuse or disciplinary actions involving the use of ALPR technology in the town of Culpeper. History. So we used that LSAG technology up till the mid-2010s. Then we stopped using it. Then July 26, 22, the Culpeper Police Department received a HEAT grant, which is Help Eliminate Auto Theft, which is the division of the state police. It's their stolen vehicle unit for the state police. We received a $10,000 grant for our first Flex ALPR system. What a Flex means, it's mobile. You can move it around, right? The LPR is just catching that license plate data. It's moving around. And that was funded for 3 years, 3-year grant. August 3rd, and I'll kind of whiz through this a little bit. Culpeper Police Department signed into contract with Flock for the stationary LPRs. May 23rd, the first Flock LPR was deployed at Rockwater Park. Can anybody tell me why we were deployed at Rockwater Park, stationary? Everybody knows what Rockwater Park is? Children. We have a couple hundred kids there every day during the summer, right? We have one way in the park, one way out. The first the first location we put that LPR was Rockwater Park because of children. There's seats up front here. You got the front row. You come late, you get in the front row. I'm sorry. That's the way it works. I know she is. She's all cognito. She deserves to be in the front row. So we put at Rockwater Park because we had a mass number of kids up there at our splash pads. We have a mass number of people there walking, running, exercising at our newest park. And it's a very expansive park. So when you park your car, you walk around, you can be a mile away, almost probably a mile away, and you can't see your car. Right after we put that in, we had 2 vehicles, 2 ladies were up there walking. We had a smash. They smashed the windows, stole their purses, stole their credit cards. LPR hit their cars after they smashed. Within minutes, we were able to track them to Greene County using the LPR technology, and they were using credit cards, those stolen credit cards. We were able to make arrests the same day. So that was one of the first successful cases that we used LPR technology on. They smashed the windows of the car, stole the credit cards, LPR technology down 29. Then we got CCTV camera footage of them using the credit card in Greene County. We're able to make the arrest the same day.
Chief Settle.
Yes.
So it's a license plate reader, correct? So how did it know that they had broke the window and who they were?
Investigation. Okay, we'll talk about that later when we get to the questions. Remember, LPR technologists, we talk about it later. It's an investigative tool. It's not the silver bullet. It's not going to tell you. It's through hard work by detectives, officers to build those leads. It just has a license plate. It's just a picture of a license plate. Those detectives has to build those leads for that investigative tool to make those connections. But that's all it does. July 27, 23, we had a joint bi-monthly neighborhood watch meeting here at the police department. We start doing public outreach, right? We did public engagement. We want to make sure the community knew to know exactly what we were doing. We started having presentations. I mean, I even put it up here, but Lions clubs and Kiwanis clubs and whatever clubs would feed me lunch for a presentation, I would go and present this. But we did a first joint neighborhood watch meeting. We talked about emerging technologies and communications that included ALPR technologies, and we live streamed that on Facebook. November 28th, fast forwarding, first Flock LPRs will be installed on public-facing highways. Right? That was at Rockwater Park. Then in November 28th, we start putting them on public-facing highways. At entry, we focus on entry points of Culpeper. Why do we put them on entry points in Culpeper, the entry points? Because we found a trend. And our detectives will tell you, our officers will tell you, our crime analysts will tell you, we start seeing a trend of our violent crime offenders that we're making arrests on. Every one of them were from out of town. They were coming and victimizing citizens of Culpeper from Maryland, D.C., North Carolina, West Virginia, whatever states are around us, coming and victimizing Northern Virginia, Richmond. And they were coming in and victimizing our citizens, and we had no way of identifying. That's what they did. That was their MO. They were coming to small towns, commit violent crime, then leave. They had a less likely chance of being identified. We'll talk about some of those cases down the road. November 27th, 2023, we did a press release that covered various media outlets, including our Flock LPRs that we had purchased, and that's a kind of a hyperlink there for one of the newspaper articles based on that press release. November 29th, 2023, we advertised via Facebook, all of our social media outlets, and the newspaper. We did a public hearing. We did a public forum in this room that we talked about the expansion of ALPRs along with implementation of a real-time crime center. Right, we had various members, not this large of a group, but we had a pretty good group here. We had various stakeholders here for that. And actually, they had input of developing policy. So we had a draft policy that we were working off of. We actually worked through it. was striking lines, adding verbiage. We actually developed a policy with stakeholders in the community on that night, November 29, 2023. March 27, 24, advancing along, another bi-monthly neighborhood watch meeting. We talked about traffic and crime-related successes to include incorporating use of LPRs in solving crime. 2024, we start receiving multiple grant fundings for additional flock LPRs in the town of Culpeper. March 15, 2024, it's a big date. So, Axon, everybody know Axon. I know a few of you in the room knows Axon. So Axon's our body worn camera vendor. They're the company that controls our body worn cameras. They're also the company that we're contracted with for our in-car cameras. The cameras are mounted in the windshield. So March 15, 2024, our contract was up. It's a 5-year contract. We renegotiated our contract. Part of that renegotiation is equipment refresh. We upgraded our equipment. We got a newer, more technological body worn camera. We got a more advanced in-car camera we call a fleet camera. Embedded in that fleet camera was ALPR technology as well that came with that new Fleet 3 equipment upgrade. So we signed a contract with Axon. We updated the Axon fleets. They were installed with the ALPR technology embedded in the in-car camera. That's Axon. Then we advanced September 24th. We received another HEAT grant funding for help eliminate auto theft for additional ALPR. I promise we have a break for questions coming up. We provided an update May 27th to our, we call it 3P Committee, Personnel Public Works, Public Safety Committee for Town Council. We provided an update on LPRs in our Real-Time Crime Center. That was May 27, 2025. July 1st, 2025, it's a big date, Back in the House, on the General Assembly on 2025, go back, General Assembly 2024, both houses, General Assembly, the House of Delegates, and the Senate were battling a LPR. We were operating LPR technology without any guardrails up until July 1st, 2025. Technically, we could operate them however the heck we wanted. I almost said a bad word. We as law enforcement, we argued we wanted guardrails. We wanted to have conditions, how we operate these things, and how to properly operate, so make sure that individual privacy concerns were addressed, to address constitutional issues. So 2024 General Assembly, they couldn't agree on the bill. They kicked the can down the road. Law enforcement was still operating them however the heck they wanted, right? We didn't like that. There was best practices and standards of how we operated them, like a 30-day retention period. We'll talk about retention periods. That's the way most agencies across the country were doing 30 days. So we were operating under guidelines or about our own guidelines and guardrails. But July 1st, the General Assembly session in 2025, they came into agreement. Both houses, House Bill 2724, they passed it. Both chambers of the Senate and the House of Delegates passed it. And Governor Youngkin signed it into law July 1st, 2025. We'll talk more about the actual exact legislation that was passed. That was a good day for us. So if you look 2.25517 of Virginia State Code, you can look it up at home, you can write it down, you can read it. You can have a copy of it in your packet there as well. So we operate LPR since July 1st, 2025 under state code. I will tell you that our state code is the third most restrictive state code in the country as far as retention data. 21 days. We can only hold data for 21 days with a license plate that's red. July 26, 2025, another HEAT grant funding was approved for additional LPR for a period of 3 years. That was through the Help Eliminate Auto Theft. And then in March 2025, we are one of the fewest, we're one of the less than 5% of all law enforcement agencies in the country that's CALEA accredited, Commission on Accreditation of Law Enforcement Agencies Incorporated. Wink, wink. They hold us to a different standard. They have a standard, and it's in your packet. It's like 41-3- whatever. It's in your packet. So we were up for a reaccreditation March 2025. So outside law enforcement professionals come into our building and examine every single policy that we have. They unturn every rock that we have. And one of the standards that we have is our CLIA standard dealing with ALPR technology. So March 25, we had an independent review of our policy dealing with ALPRs, and those standards are in your packet as well that we have to adhere to through a CLIA. And just another part of that governance piece that we have to follow, that we voluntarily follow. We don't have to go and be clear accredited. It's totally a voluntary process. August 6th. Then we have August 6th. We're here today. We have a town hall style public event to discuss ALPR technologies. All right, we've got questions coming up after this. So basically, as we get into the nuts and bolts of this thing, basically separating facts from misinformation and what do ALPRs do and what they don't do. And again, there's a lot of misinformation. I read it, I get social media. What it does do first, which is less important. What it doesn't do, I think is more important. It takes a picture of a point in time of an image of the vehicle's rear and the license plate on a public highway. That's what it does. Whatever the amount, how fast that shutter speed on that camera, 1/100th of a second, that's the point in time it captures a license plate on the back of a car, on the rear of a car, in a fractional point in time on a public highway. It also captures basic vehicle characteristics, such as color, make, type, and physical identifiers based upon technology of taking a picture of the back of the car. It does obtain that information as well. It helps law enforcement locate vehicles connected to crimes, missing and endangered persons, and public safety alerts. And we'll get more into this as we go along as well. And provides law enforcement an important investigative tool. This tool, we can act upon it solely based upon the tool. We have to have visual inspection of the license plate. We have other leads. This is not connected to any other database. This is a standalone database that we have. Detectives and officers have to have other leads developed and have visual observation of a hit before we can take law enforcement action on ALPRs. What does the LPRs do? Does not track or surveil people, right? It's only vehicle centric. It does not track people. And we'll see examples of that later in this slide. Or create a record of where everyone has traveled or where everybody's traveled to. It's only that point in time that license plate was on a public highway. Does not issue tickets or act as an enforcement tool. We don't write traffic tickets. We don't do any kind of enforcement based on solely on LPRs. We do not. Other agencies do. We do not. Does not access personal information such as names, addresses, social security numbers, DMV records, or any driving history. It can't tell you any of that information. It is a standalone system. It is not integrated with VSIN, which is our state information exchange that talks about your driving records, or NCIC, which is the national exchange, which tells you about all your criminal history. They're two separate systems. They're not integrated. Does not use any form of facial recognition or biometrics. No facial recognition is embedded in this technology. No, it doesn't even take a picture of a human. It doesn't even take a picture of a face. It takes a picture of a rear of a car. So it can't use facial recognition. It doesn't have the capability of using facial recognition. It's so important, I put it in twice. And I've gotten these questions, which they're fair questions. We do not use any form of signal trace. Anybody know what signal trace is? Show of hands. It's a cell phone technology, tracking technology. A couple of you guys do know that. It does not use any form of signal trace, device tracking, Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, cell signals, smartwatches, anything emitting from the car, anything signals from the car, it does not track it. It does not have the capability to gather that information. It's just it takes a picture of a rear of a car with the license plate. Now, who in the room here, when they hear flock, they say LPR? Who in the room? Right, that's fair. How many knows there's dozens of other LPR companies or vendors that are to market, right? That we can go buy a vendor, a license plate reader from several other companies, corporations throughout the United States and beyond. A lot of people don't know that. Some of those companies are to have LPRs to market as we speak. Axon, we talked about, we are a current customer of Axon. Genetec, Motorola Solutions, Flock Safety, Insight LPR, OmniQ, Leonardo, NX Technologies, Genetec, and there's tons more out there. I'll just list a couple. And that's some of their symbols there if you see them around. The two we use, Axon and Flock, which you'll see in the next slide. And then we're gonna have questions. We'll have a break. Currently, our inventory, we have 13 fixed ALPR units. Those are Flock units, 13 fixed public facing on a highway. And we have 34 fleet LPR units, those that are in-car cameras in our cars, right? For that upgrade, not contract upgrade. That is what the Culpeper Police Department has currently. And that's what we use. So I'm going to stop there for any questions what we covered so far, and then we'll start getting into actually the back end of it and how we actually use it and the governance of it.
Couple things. One, what made you decide to use Flock when you could have chosen somebody else?
Flock provided, and staff will tell you, but Flock will provide the better product. Their back end, their analytics, the way they use technology, it's much more advanced than it. And again, I want to be as brand agnostic as I can. I'm not here to endorse any specific company. I'm just telling you the reasoning why Flock was chosen is because they provided a better product.
And do they have access to the data, or is it on a closed network where it only goes to your server? Is it on the internet?
It's in the cloud. Just like many of our systems here at the police department, it is in the cloud. We'll talk about that. That's all presented down the road. We'll get deeper into that.
Okay. I guess I'll wait and see.
Yeah, we'll get deeper into that. Yep. We'll talk about data storage, privacy. We'll talk about that and security, data security. Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you. So you mentioned they go back these ALPRs, 20 years, decades.
Yes.
And you've been using. Most people haven't been aware of that. We know you have body camera.
Mm-hmm.
The difference is, and you didn't mention this, in 2023 till today, they're AI-assisted AI flock cameras. That's a big difference in the original cam systems.
Yeah.
So that's why a lot of people have concerns.
Yeah. Now I'll tell you a little bit about the AI use into our flock cameras, and I knew that question was coming, and we'll get into that later. Now AI is being used in any kind of software package we're using today. It's used in your phones, the device in your pocket, your Ring systems at home. AI is being used in pretty much everything we're using today. But it is being used in Flock and in Axon and in our RMS CAD system that we use today, where when your 911 call comes into a dispatcher, it's being used. It's being used in every platform we use. But for our ALPR vendors, it is using AI to enhance photos. So when it takes that picture, it uses to enhance the characteristics of the license plate. It's used for vehicle characteristics for those other identifiers, to really label those other identifiers like blue car, bumper sticker, roof rack, those type of things. And we're going to talk about this a little bit later. And it improves image recognition as well, and searches vehicle description. So it is using something on the back end, but not really on the front end as far as it's not used for investigations. It's used to enhance photos and make the search easier. He has hand up first, I'm sorry.
So you mentioned that those who previous design, but they special points they weren't, I guess, at whole block, right? But if that vehicle comes through every single minute at, let's say, the same time or whatever like that, we can actually take that and we profile of it to see that it is traffic, correct?
If it comes through a fixed point every single day, then yeah, we would have that data for 21 days. But that data would only be accessed if that vehicle we have reasonable suspicion that vehicle is related to a crime. That's the only way we can access, and we'll talk about that later. That's the only way we can get that data.
Okay. And let's go around to that one. You said that it only takes pictures of the rear of the vehicle. What about the cameras that are facing into the parking lots and things like that?
We don't have any LPRs facing parking lots.
The one that's at Lowe's in the parking lot entryway facing into the parking lot.
We don't own that one. That's owned by Lowe's.
Difference between local government.
So here's a good learning point. So most of your LPR systems, all those companies, they have like 3 divisions. They'll have a public safety division that sells only to law enforcement. They have a commercial business that sells to commercial businesses, protect their assets, right? All this stuff in there, the plants, and there's all the stuff in the yard, the buildings. And then they have a HOA residential division. They'll sell to HOAs as well. So we do not own those cameras up there. Lowe's owns those.
Can that data be pulled by the police?
They're in our network. We can get that data, but they cannot access their data.
In your presentation, it mentioned that the camera only takes a picture of the license plate, and how is it able to detect vehicle characteristics? Is my understanding there's actually two cameras that are available, like Condor and Falcon. One is the license plate reader system, and then there's actually another camera.
So,
Is your system the dual camera?
so we do have dual cameras, but they're different. So the Condor, the Falcon is an LPR only. It only shoots LPR. And embedded in that Falcon, that Condor camera, that Falcon camera, it uses AI to distinguish those vehicle characteristics. The Condor is a separate camera. That's just like a traffic camera. That does not have any LPR technology built in it. It's just a traffic camera, like we have traffic cameras, like VDOT has traffic cameras.
Correct, but I'm just saying, it was a little misleading because you said it only takes a picture of the license plate, but actually, there are two separate cameras.
Not everywhere. So only the traffic cameras that we have mounted with the LPR cameras take pictures of the traffic. The LPR camera does just LPR reads, and it uses AI technology to do those vehicle characteristics and enhances the plate image. Does that make sense? George.
Can an entity outside local control access either the cameras or your cloud information?
We'll get to that. We'll get to that on data privacy security. Hold that thought. We'll get to that.
You had said that there were 13 fixed cameras and 34 fleet cameras. I understand about the fleet cameras for the police department. How many cameras are there in town total? If there
LPR. Are we talking LPRs or just cameras?
If Lowe's has cameras, HOAs have cameras that you can access, do you have the fixed cameras? You have the mobile cameras? How many cameras do we need in this town?
So that's fair. So when we say cameras, are we talking about license plate reader?
LPR.
LPRs. So we have 13 LPRs. Lowe's has 2 ALPRs, and we have a HOA has an LPR.
The one right there at Lowe's? Is that the?
No, we have a HOA. We have a residential neighborhood. A HOA has purchased the ALPR.
Oh, one neighborhood.
One neighborhood, but we don't own that. We don't own that. The HOA bought that.
Okay.
That's what we have. Okay, I'm sorry.
Short behind.
I'm sorry.
You went through all the things that this current system doesn't do, but anybody who's done any research on FLOP especially, and license plate readers in general, knows that they are capable of doing much, much more. Who's to say, will you notify the community if FLOP comes to you and offers you one of those updated cameras that does do facial recognition, does pick up Bluetooth? Will you notify us so we have something to say
Sure.
about it?
Yeah, and that's where for me it crosses the line. I will tell you, Flock does not have a product that does any of those things. There is another LPR vendor that is to market with those technologies. Leonardo. We talked about Leonardo. And again, I don't want to talk about brands or listing different brands or whatever. But Leonardo, it has a technology, an LPR out right now to market that can emit signals emitting from the car.
Yeah, well, FLOC's gonna have drones too, so who knows what's gonna be on the drones.
Yeah. So with drones. That's a whole another town hall meeting, right? So
Just to say, they won't be behind in that technology.
no, none of them will. None of the 13, 14 vendors that's to market. None of them will. They'll just copy one another.
I have one more question. I'm sure you'll maybe get to it later. You said that, I know there's policies about nobody accessing this information. However, I was researching this afternoon, and there are a number of lawsuits against like Block. There are counties, Pinal County in Phoenix, Arizona, is not going to renew their contract coming in September because of Fourth Amendment concerns. Mooresville, North Carolina had 10 officers that illegally accessed cameras. One was arrested yesterday. Savannah, Georgia has 6 employees that illegally accessed cameras. Landcase has for Michigan is going to have where they can fly drones over your home at 400 foot, and there's nothing you could do about it. Reynoldsburg, Ohio had 2 officers. Cabetta, Georgia had 3 officers. And Narragansett, Rhode Island is terminating their cameras.
Yeah.
All because of Fourth Amendment concerns. We've already had a lot of problems with issues with making us on the national news in this county. We don't need any more.
Yeah. And I'll just respond to that. A couple different Fourth Amendment issues. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about legal issues in a minute. There's a couple binding cases that's been heard in the state courts in Virginia and the federal Fourth Circuit in Virginia. We'll talk about those cases later. And I don't want to steal Nick's thunder on that. He's a lawyer. He likes to talk about lawyer talk. But we'll talk about legal concerns later. And to your point where officers are being held accountable, so the state code we'll talk about later, that's Nick's thunder as well. It is a class 1 misdemeanor to misuse ALPR technology, just like it is to misuse NCIC information, and a lot of different information systems that we use. And it should be. I agree with it 100%. But I will just tell you this. Let me finish my point. I'll tell you this. Probably today there's over 300,000 police officers in the United States. I bet you today there's probably 1,000 that's been disciplined and 1,000 has been terminated for various reasons. Right? So yeah, it's easy to handpick, and they should be fired. I'm not denying that. But let me finish my point. So we have issues here at the police department. We have disciplinary issues where, let's say, an officer misuses their taser, right? And we discipline them. We hold them accountable, right? And I say we terminate them, we hold them accountable. We could terminate them, but I don't go and take all their tasers from them. I don't. I just won't do it because it's a valuable investigative tool. It's a valuable use of force tool. Does that make sense? Yes. But it's easy to handpick those cases, and they should be held accountable. But there's a lot of cases.
I saw some random policy. It said that they may be disciplined. They will be disciplined if they use it wrong.
If an internal affairs investigation deems that's a founded complaint, they will be held.
They shall.
Yeah.
Not may.
And that made there because the internal affairs investigation. There has to be an investigation. There's the procedural guarantees right in Virginia that we have to follow by code. There has to be an internal affairs investigation. So, but yes, if they're found to be guilty of misusing ALPR technology, they'll be held accountable, and they'll be referred to the Commonwealth Attorney because it's class 1 misdemeanor. Just like we referred to other cases to the Commonwealth Attorney for VSIN NCIC misuse, we have referred the cases to the state police and to the Commonwealth Attorney on misuses in the past as well. We have record of that. Okay, let's move along. There's more chicken and lemonade out there, but if you want us to go. Let's talk about FLOC specifically. Now, to answer the gentleman's point over to my right, the reason why we pick FLOC, one of the reasons we pick FLOC is their analytics. Their analytics is probably better than everybody else's. And again, I'm not endorsing any brand or any vendor, any company. Their analytics is better. We can pull analytics like this and data, and have it for usable and use it in action. So the past 30 days, those 13 fixed, and we just talking about the fixed LPRs in town. Past 30 days, 225,752 vehicles detected, right? All 13. That's 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 13 running. We're a busy town, right? A lot of traffic. So if you see, each one of these are days of the week, right? That's how many reads we're getting a days of the week. If you see the dips there, those are Sundays, right? So it was kind of interesting to see. Sundays, that's Sundays. Yeah, Sundays is the dips. If you look at the dates, Sundays are the dips. What's interesting, right? Of the 30 days, we talk about queries. We talk about searches, and we'll talk about officer or analyst searches, how we search for crimes. We had 486 queries or searches into the system the past 30 days. Now that's all crimes, hit and runs, and we'll show you the cases that we queried in the next slide. But of the 225,000 cars for the past 30 days, those 486 queries, your car has a chance to be queried 0.002.15%. 0.00215% chance that your car is queried. That's if you commit a crime, or if we have reasonable suspicion that your car committed a crime. Does that make sense? That's about a 30-day period. Those queries, this is what they look like. These are the system will not let you query any tag unless you have a crime, reasonable suspicion, a crime has occurred, a case number, and a reason. It won't let you do it. The system will not let you, and state code now will not let you do it. We'll talk about state code later. Again, governance and policy, right? It's the strict policy and the strict governance is what makes this work. So these are the cards. So our most queried crime that we use LPR technology for by far is hit and runs. Hit and runs, right? We have a lot of hit and runs, right? People hit somebody, we hit a pedestrian, or somebody hits a car, they flee, we have a description, we have a blue car, blue sedan, leaves the area, no license plate, we do a query to try to find the offender, try to find the violator. We have a crime that's been committed. About 22% of our searches are hit and runs. Go down, larceny and theft offenses, 15%, and you can kind of go down. Drugs, narcotics, 13%. Motor vehicle theft, 4%. Missing endangered persons and runaway juveniles, 2.7%, and it goes all the way down to pornography, robbery, indecent exposures, homicide, threats, kidnapping, abduction, child abuse, neglect, animal offenses, and bribery. So that's what we're searching for. That is what we're searching for. We cannot run a search unless we have one of these crimes and a reason and a case number. Based on the searches, these are the numbers. These are the numbers of outcomes. Cleared by arrest, you can see the numbers. We have 39 arrests based upon LPR technology. Cleared by other means, what those numbers are is if we have and Michelle maybe help me out, but what those numbers are, if a car goes through one point of entry and goes to another point of entry, goes to another point of entry, it would be easy for us to count that as 3 different arrests, right? But no, it's not 3 arrests. It's 1 arrest. It just went through 3 LPRs. So it's 1 arrest. Those other hits get in this category, right? Because it hits other LPRs. So we didn't want to inflate our arrest numbers. Those are true and accurate numbers. Leads generated, no action taken. Those no action taken, sometimes they're misreads. Sometimes, what other examples of no action taken? Mostly misreads. So remember, by code and by policy, what drives this whole thing, what makes it successful, is strong policy and strong code. Code and policy requires an officer to visually observe and verify that plate before he can take any law enforcement action. The LPR hit by itself is not reasonable suspicion to take any law enforcement action. So sometimes we don't visually verify that license plate hit. No action taken. And then we have unable to locate. It goes to a point in time, right? It goes through, we get a hit for a robbery suspect or whatever from somewhere else. And we just can't locate it, right? Because we don't know where the vehicle's going. We have to search the area around that LPR to try to find the offender, try to find the car, right? So a lot of times we just can't find the car. It's not tracking where the car is going, just that single point in time. We got to actually search for it. This is where you get into the code. Some of the stuff's going to be repeated a little bit, but oversight and accountability. I think this is a key important subject to talk about to make sure that we do have oversight and accountability. By code, by policy, by training, by CALEA standards, everything that points to us is all images not related to criminal activity and criminal investigations purged after 21 days. That is the code of Virginia.
When we delete on our phones or computers, that information is still somewhere, it can be retrieved. What about that?
It is not available to the vendor, to the company by contract, and by code. They can be held criminally liable. It's gone. We do a search. If we have a robbery that happened 22 days ago, and Michelle comes in the morning and tries to search for that vehicle, suspect vehicle, it will not pull up anything. We cannot access it. Every query or search is recorded, logged, and audited. So when an officer goes in, does a query, and you can talk to any officer here during breaks. We'll take a little break on the hour. Every search is recorded, logged, and audited. We're audited internally, and the state now by code, the new code section that took effect July 125, requires the state police to conduct the audit on all LPR agencies in Virginia. So we have to do a lot of paper. Michelle does a lot, not me. Michelle does a lot of paperwork every quarter doing an audit to the Virginia State Police on LPRs, right? And we got to pretty much give them everything.
Speaking of audit, is the system audited by a third party, or is it just the Virginia cyber? I forgot what it's called. But
the DART. It's the division of VITA. VITA is another one. Virginia Information Technology Agency is another one. It's audited. But
I think it would be good if the public were able to propose to have a third party audit the system, not the data, but the system, to prove that it is locked down and that it's not exposing an attack surface to the outside. I mean, you're uploading data to the cloud.
So we'll talk about data security. We'll talk. You'll see. Again, I'm gonna be totally honest with you. Some of the stuff's gonna go over my head when we talk about data security, but you'll see the acronyms and what audits are done on the federal system on the side SOC to AES 256 encrypted. You'll see all that later. Whew. So, but we'll talk about some of that later. That might satisfy your question, but I get your point. Again, we talked about every query, every search an officer does, or Michelle does, or anybody that's authorized has to have a list of a crime. We will see in a second, a case number, a reason for the search. If you don't have one of these fields filled out, it will not let you do the search. That's on any LPR system. That's the code. That's the law of the land. That is the code of Virginia. And it's best practice, right? We want to do it.
Question.
Go ahead.
On one of your previous slides where you had the crimes archives, halfway down it said other. Is there, that brought to memory near when we said you gotta have a crime attached to it? Or if it's in the other category, I mean, is,
I can answer that.
I know you can.
Okay, so the main logs that we have are considered as the type 1 type crimes. So those are the top crimes. Those aren't just the only crimes that can be committed. So things like a trespass or things that may not be in one of those categories that is maybe a lesser crime or something that is not considered like a robbery. That would be considered in the other criminal investigations, which would have a corresponding case number that goes with it, along with a CAD report, an officer report, along that. If I listed every single crime that we can charge for, that list, you're gonna have pages and pages. So what the system does is VSP Virginia State Police has itemized major crimes, and then other crimes that you can be charged with are in an other category, which can still be found out because I have to have a case number in order to do that. So it has a corresponding charge to it. They just put it in another category.
Per Virginia code, all law enforcement officers must, we talked about this before, and I know I'm going to sound like a broken record here before too long. Per state code and policy, all law enforcement officers must visually verify all license plates and match that license plate from the hit. So if a car comes down, it's a hit, they want it from Albemarle County, they want it from Fairfax, they want it from wherever. They cannot act solely on the hit by the code and by policy, right? That's abuse of they have to visually verify the tag and verify the tag. A lot of times they'll run it through BCN NCIC before they even try the vehicle stop to make sure that that is the right car. When we talked about this before, if any person by code and by policy, if any person illegally accesses any LPR system, they can be charged with a class 1 misdemeanor and will be subject to internal disciplinary procedures, similar to NCIC VSIN, right? Which are controlled by the FBI and the state police. So we've had those issues. A lot of departments had those issues. We deal with them. We hold them accountable. By code, again, by the Code of Virginia, we can only share data with other Virginia law enforcement agencies, right? Before the guardrails were put in place, before the code section took place, agencies could share the data with other law enforcement agencies throughout the country. Virginia tightened it up. I think it's a good thing, right? We can only share with other Virginia law enforcement agencies.
No federal agencies?
No federal agencies. Okay. Zero. That was part of the code section. You can read that. Yeah, that's part of your handouts.
Is Culpeper using these for immigration enforcement in any way?
Absolutely not. No. That's federal. There'll be a federal. We have to share the federal. Absolutely not.
And so if another state were to call, like there was a lady from Texas who got an abortion and they followed her with the LPRs down the highways to where she was going. If somebody was to call and ask this department to do that, they would not happen.
Not for that reason, no, ma'am.
Okay.
Absolutely not.
Are the privately owned LPR bound by these same regulations?
No. But they don't have search capabilities, and they don't get hits. So the private, the HOA LPRs, and the commercial the ones at Lowe's, the ones in the HOA, they don't get, no one's in the computer, they don't get a hit. They're just tracking, they're just getting the data. There's no hits, there's no confirmations. There's no bells that goes off at somebody's house, the HOA presidents, that stolen cars going through. They're just collecting the data it's just collecting the data.
Why would they be doing that? Why would they?
The neighborhood the HOA that got the LPR data, they had a murder in their neighborhood. And they took the step as HOA and they voted to put the LPR in the neighborhood because of a homicide. A young man was killed, shot and killed in cold blood.
So all that data stays inside that HOA, doesn't go anywhere else?
They don't have access. They have access to the data, but they don't get the hits. So if a stolen car goes to the LPR, they don't get notified.
My point is, if I'm driving in and out of this particular HOA, whether I reside there or not, my data is being acquired and then sent to some security firm that this HOA has access to.
No, it's not sent to a security firm. It's kept in AWS cloud, government cloud. Go ahead.
Just to clarify too, what the data you're talking about in that is only your license plate, right? So there's no way that neighborhood knows your name, your social security number, your date of birth. They have none of that information.
How about these ones around the outside of town?
No, they're not connected.
High Point, so when I come down off of Orange Road,
yeah.
there's one right smack
Yeah.
there. I pass it twice, 3 times.
It's only still collecting your license plate for 21 days.
So it's not recording any other information?
Absolutely not.
All of that information is only tracked by the town?
Yes.
Well,
Where the other agencies we share data with, other state agencies, law enforcement agencies we share, has access, state of Virginia. But only if your vehicle is tied to a crime, they can only access it. If not, it just stays in that AWS solution, and it goes that way in 21 days.
I have a question about that. Say if he said that he passes this camera 2 or 3 times a day, and there's somebody also in his neighborhood that is a drug dealer. What if it links his tag number going in that area a lot and makes it look like he's suspected of drug activity?
It's vehicle specific. So if the drug dealer is driving a separate car and a separate tag, it's not going to be linked to him at all.
Well, what about if you think that maybe he's going to buy drugs?
Well, that's part of the investigation. Again, LPR is not a silver bullet, right? It's a lot of humans that you're sitting in the room, detectives that have to provide the investigative links to make the case. LPRs don't make any cases. We can't act on an LPR read. We can't go get a warrant on an LPR read. A detective has to, or an officer has to do the work. It's used as an investigative tool. Like we have a lot of investigative tools we use as technologies, not just this one, and we put those together and create a case and build a case. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Thank you. We talked about internal and Virginia State Police auditing. We kind of talked about that a little bit as well as far as those controls. Again, I do have a break. I can show you one of those state police audits that Michelle does every quarter. It's not fun. It's government, right? But it's okay. It's okay. Like it's okay. The courts, and we'll talk about the courts later. Nick will talk about the courts later, where we stand on the courts as far as oversight and accountability. Legislation, we talked about that. Is that rain? Wow. Department policy, right? None of this works. Any technology that we have, the Culpeper Police Department or any agency in the country, any federal agency, will not work unless you have strong policy, right? And strong governance behind it. It doesn't work. Technology alone will not work unless you have strong policy, strong statutes, and good people, good ethical people, good police officers behind the scenes working the data, right? Data by itself and technology by itself doesn't do nothing, doesn't do squat. It takes detectives' legwork behind the scenes to pull it all together. We can't, by code, we can't use it solely by itself to make a case.
How much have your numbers improved since you installed the cameras?
You have no idea. Drastically.
I have no
Air solvability rates gone through the roof. Air solvability rates for solving crimes. Here's a perfect example. Michelle's our crime analyst. Every couple, before LPRs, you would see on our Facebook, she would do 7, 8, 9 bulletins, like the old school bulletins, right? Shoplifter, hit and run, look for this vehicle, look for this person, blah, blah, blah. How many do you see now? Almost 0. You know why? Because ALPR technology is identifying those suspects without us putting a bulletin out. They are finding suspects, identifying them without putting a bulletin out. You know the benefit of that is? A 19-year-old kid who shoplifts at Walmart and does something stupid, and we can identify him through LPR technology in our building without putting his picture out. And once that picture goes out to the web, to Facebook, we all knows where it stays. That picture of that kid's never going away. Now we can prevent that by identifying offenders and not putting that information out, not putting his picture out from that Walmart camera, or not putting that vehicle out. It saves a little embarrassment, it saves family embarrassment, and that picture stays on the web forever.
So you got his picture from a Walmart camera. How does that work to his tag?
No, that's too long. You misunderstand me. So we're able not to put this picture out because we're identifying him through a vehicle, through an LPR, and not having to put the picture out. Two unrelated things. So we don't have to put that bullet down anymore because because we got CCTV camera. They walk out of Walmart, they get into a car, and then we say, okay, blue car, and then we can search by time frame within 10 minutes around that area, see the car, get the registered owner, and then we got to do the investigation. We don't know who's driving the car because it doesn't take a picture of a face. Sometimes, how many have cars that the registered driver doesn't drive all the time? We got to do the legwork. Those people in the back there, they got to do the legwork. They got to do the work to identify the suspect, not just the LPR by itself is the silver bullet. Does that make sense?
Well, you mentioned Walmart. I think, people are concerned about privacy, and I think all of us are. You go into Walmart, they see you immediately when you pull in the parking lot on camera. They got cameras that show the whole parking lot, colors of cars, the whole 9 yards.
It does.
Then you go in the store, and they can follow it, see the cameras all over the place. They
It does.
follow you throughout the store.
It does.
And then when you go to check out, if you use self-checkout, there's facial recognition sitting right there with your little picture.
It does.
ties into the credit card that you're using.
It does.
Yep.
It
Are
does.
there any guardrails on that?
Not that I know of. Private corporation? Not that I know of. Maybe there are. I'm not a Walmart employee. I'm not a manager. I try to stay in my lane here. I don't know. But you're right. That technology does exist. And we see our big box stores use that technology to
Convenience stores. All of them.
yeah.
They're protecting their property.
Yeah. So, but you're exactly right. We're only taking a picture of the license plate. All the other stuff's existing. We have no control of that stuff. I'll talk about VITA a little bit, Virginia Information Technology Agency. The state, the code section puts them as kind of the parent of all technologies that's used in as far as LPR technologies. So they're the ones doing the testing. They're the ones making sure the encryption. They're the ones that, and they make sure they're the agency may be doing that third-party checking that you're talking about, because they have to be, these vendors have to be approved through them before we're able to purchase it. So they're doing all that legwork for the state. So Flock, Axon, all those technologies are CAD RMS vendors. All these vendors that we use, we're vendor centric. Law enforcement, that's where we're at today. They all have to be approved through VITA. So some of that stuff you asked about might be with that VITA study. They do studies on these vendors. CLIA, we talked about that. The CLIA checks keeps us governance, keeps us accountable. And then we have a transparency portal. I don't know if you guys know we have a transparency portal. It's a web page that's dedicated to our LPR system, to our Flock system, right? It gives us number of total aggregate reads, the total of queries, the total search, the number of hits. It has our policy put on there. We have some success stories put on there. It's a lot of information on that web page that you can go to anytime, 24/7, and check how many reads we're seeing, how many hits we're seeing, how many queries we're doing. It's a transparency page. It has our policy on it, so if you want to reference our policy, you can see everything policy. That's required by state code. It has to be. We have to have a website that's outward facing to the public with our code, with the number of aggregate hits, the total number of searches, the total number of plates we're reading. That's all in the state code that we're required to do that. It's on this website right here. But we have it on our website as well, the policy. But that transparency portal, because it's integrated with the LPRs, so those aggregate reads, it changes. You hit refresh, it changes. Hit refresh, it changes. So many hours, it updates of how many aggregate reads.
Is that website in the packet?
It is. Yes, sir. This is what it looks like. So you pull it up at any point. So when we pull this point up, when you screenshot it, it was last 30 days, it was 149,000 reads. Now you can see that site 24/7, 7 days a week. Of that, 113, we did 113 searches on those 149,000 cars, right? 113 searches for that 30-day period. And then we had 65 hits come into the town. That a car was stolen, license plates were stolen, someone was wanted for a felony, someone was wanted for whatever in the NCIC was entered into NCIC, it's a national database. They're wanted for crimes. Those 65 people. Let's say we arrested 65 people, like the other graphic I showed you, sometimes we can't find them, right? We only know it went through that ALPR, that split second at a time. We got to go find it. We don't know where it's going, so our officers have to go out and find them. And a lot of times we don't find them. I wish we would.
That's 65 is if they went through 4 cameras.
Yeah.
That's gonna get there. So
Yep. You're right. It says probably less. You said it's probably less. It's probably, yeah. They go through multiple LPRs. Right. That one car may be attributed to those 65 hits. Yeah. You're correct. You look like you have some experience in this. Here's what our officers see. This is important. So when they do a search, this is the audit. When they do a search, this is what they're required to do. This is what it looks like. We're showing you this. Where it's circled up there, offense type. An offense type has to be filled out. If it's not filled out, they cannot do a query. They cannot do a search. Case number. Case number's not in there, they cannot do a search. And the reason, we'll show you the drop-down menu and the reason for the search. We'll come back to your point, the reason for a search. You got to have all 3 to do a search. And if you do a vehicle search, let's say you don't have the tag, you do a vehicle search, then this is where you can search the body, colors, makes, and identifiers over here. But you still got to have those 3 filled out to do that search. You got to have a crime. You got to have a crime. If you don't have a crime, you don't have a search.
There's no generic login?
No, we'll talk about that. It's dual authenticated. Believe me, as a non-tech person, it's a pain in the butt. You got to check your email, you got to check your phone, you got to check all the stuff to log in. But it's got all the dual authentication, all that jazz. I'm sorry? MFA.
Yeah,
Multi-factor.
is that a requirement of the FLOCS program or the state of Virginia?
Both. I think VITA requires it. All the vendors require it. Believe me, we have. I hate saying that word. Believe me, because I'm asking you not to believe me. We have a lot of systems that we use, right? Other than LPRs that we use to investigate crime, detect crime, find offenders. All of them require multi-factor authentication to get in. But I'll tell you this: the other system we use are individual centric. Well, this is vehicle centric, and this is way more stricter, getting a picture of a license plate, than any other information system we got that's actually more intrusive to the person who's committed a crime.
The reason why I was asking is the lady who was arrested in Georgia yesterday, the officer who was arrested in Georgia yesterday, used the block camera to stalk her husband's district.
I saw that. I read it.
So if she didn't have a crime or a case number, what would she been just putting in the same information every single time?
I'm not familiar with that part of it, but that's where the audits come in. That's where the audits come in, are catching these things. There was an audit that caught that police officer,
Right.
that dirty police officer. It caught him, right? And those are the controls are in place.
And the audits happen, you said quarterly?
Quarterly, and then be honest, we do them every day. Michelle is our LPR. She is pretty much checking on those searches every day.
I see one of the fields, checkbox for include partial plates. So how many, do you guys keep track of, not false positives, but erroneous hits based on using only partial data? Like, is that information available to the public? Like, how many times was LPR data used, but it wasn't accurate or it wasn't correct? Like, you're trying to use it and it gave you false information.
I don't know if it does that or not. We do have false hits. We do, but that's where that visual observation has to take place before we take any action. Not to my knowledge, we haven't had any false police actions based on a false read.
Okay, then kind of related question. If I, let's say I was involved in some type of offense and I went to court, is it possible to, I know under Freedom of Information Act, we can't request data that is collected. However, you're part of a legal proceeding. Can your attorney
Yes.
subpoena that?
Yes, yes. It's part of discovery. We'll get, if your attorney asks Nick, you're the attorney here, but if your attorney asks for discovery, by law, we're required to provide the information. Good, let's move on. So that's what it looks like. So we'll show you some of the drop-down fields. Collars, identifiers. Man, I've answered a lot of questions about this part. Like a lot of people are hung up on the identifiers, right? Like we don't track kayaks. I don't know how many people say we track kayaks. Boats, we don't track boats. We don't track luggage. This is the drop-down menu, the actual drop-down menu. This is the other identifiers that we can search, right? And yes, bumper stickers are there.
Just to clarify, so when you, to make that point, you cannot search circle bumper sticker, okay? Like that, you can't search that. I can't put it.
Just generic bumper
Yes,
sticker.
I can't put a description of your bumper sticker as a search field. I just want to clarify that because I didn't have that.
Yeah, because AI.
AI is not that good. It's not that good. It's not that good. Yeah.
Like if you have a Batman sticker on the back, I can't search that.
Yeah, if you have an SML, like you see the SML Smith, those type of stickers, it cannot search that individually. It just searches the bumper sticker. Yeah.
So that's what those drop downs are, literal check boxes, and that's all it is. I can't search black toolbox. I can't search metal toolbox. I can't. There's nothing for me to do for that. It is truck with a toolbox. So just to clarify, sorry.
There's those reasons. Going to your reasons. These are the reasons. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Oh, let me go back. Let me figure out how to do this. I'm not very tech. Talk about tech.
So I'm seeing under the vehicle signature side, you have adjust confidence levels. Are the officers adjusting that based off of the image taken by the LPR or based off of like personal, like in-body investigation?
I actually don't adjust the confidence level at all.
Okay.
I never do. But basically, and I don't really have any reason to adjust it either because it's defaulted.
Defaulted.
At 75%.
Yeah.
When I'm searching for a vehicle, like the previous slide with the 489 searches, I can almost guarantee that the majority of them were done by me.
Okay.
And
It's true.
and when you're talking about 489 searches, you do an initial search with a case, but that search might have another search with another search. That's all part of the same case.
So at what point
And-
are you accessing the image taken by the LPR during your investigation?
I'm sorry. I don't
So
understand
as the LPR gets a license plate, have you already investigated the crime?
Yes.
Or you are looking into the hits on the LPR?
Yeah, because I need
Yeah.
an absolute definitive reason.
Crime.
And I have an example I can give you is a very simple example. You are parked in a parking lot and you get your car hit while you're in the store. That store provides our officer with CCTV surveillance of a vehicle, and maybe a witness gives a partial plate on a vehicle that is very distinct in comparison to everybody else's vehicle. And I don't know how a general person looks at a car, but for me, it is very specific. Trim, wheel wells, those all are things that I think about if I'm watching a video that is in evidence. So something like that. So there's really no reason for me to adjust the confidence level because an investigation is already in play for a specific suspect vehicle. But they do allow you to do that, especially when for like night, because at night, which I'm sure that you have
We got it coming up.
Yes.
Yep.
So the night reads look a little bit different than the day reads, and we'll show you what those look like.
Answer your question? Okay. Okay. We'll keep going. We'll might answer your question. Those are the reasons on the search. And it kind of continues on over here. It's two different slides here. There's that other criminal investigation that the gentleman was referencing into. ACAC is internet crimes against children, right? Those are your predators or hunting kids online, coming in our communities from outside of our town. We're catching them, coming in our town, arresting them, putting them in jail. Those are ACAC cases. Detective Hayes in the back, he works those cases. A lot of success stories with those. Human trafficking. So those are the reasons we can do the search. If you're tracking your ex and you put one of those down, you're committing a crime. This is what ALPRs capture. This is the crux, right? Let me tell you something. The legislation, the state code is so nailed down and it was so restrictive. I can't even go into the system for community presentations and put there's no reason for community presentations or no reason, because it has to be a crime, has to be a case number, and has to be a reason. For something like this, I can't go in there and show you guys. So we got these images from 2023 from a previous presentation when we did the town hall meeting and the public outreach when we started them. We went and pulled these because the state code wasn't in compliance then. So these are from 2023 because I didn't want to violate state code. It won't even let me. It wouldn't let me because it has no reason for community outreach or anything like that, or presentations or education. It won't let me do it. So this is what the LPR is. This is what we see. This is what it captures. It captures the rear of the vehicle, time and date by a second of the time, the location, and these are the night images here. This is what it captures.
Was this with AI back 3 years ago?
Yes.
AI says that wasn't flocked then, though.
Yeah. Yeah.
You had flocked then?
Mm-hmm. 2023. That's when we started. This is Rockwater Parks. First one we put in.
That's a lot more than a license plate.
Yeah, it does take the rear picture of the car.
Takes a whole picture of the car.
Yeah.
The rear of the car. The rear of the car.
In that particular instance, but if you were driving this way, it'd take a picture of your face and everything you did.
One way in, one way. It's one way in. It's one way. It's one way.
When at high point, I drive, it looks right.
It's zeroed in on that license plate. It takes the picture of the rear of the car. I wish I could show you. I can't show you because the system won't let me show you. Go ahead.
The night one, like she was mentioning, is a different look. What about weather conditions? Are they degraded when it's like really bad rain or snow or something like that?
Yeah, that's a it's a camera. So yes, just like your point and shoot cameras that you operate, it's the same way. It is a camera. So yes.
I think a lot of us are concerned about our constitutional rights, our Fourth Amendment rights, and against mass surveillance of just having these cameras everywhere and what they're visualizing. I mean, I need a heart transplant. I go to Charlottesville on a regular basis.
Mm-hmm.
And so I know every time I'm going up and down 29 now, everybody, well, not everybody, but flock and all the
Sure.
police departments all know it. And I know it's not really a big deal to anybody else but me. But I'm not into giving up my rights.
Yeah, we'll talk about.
Y'all took a right.
Yeah.
I mean, y'all took an oath to protect our Constitution.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sure we did.
And so that's one of our rights is our Fourth Amendment right against illegal search and seizure. You know.
We're going to talk about constitutional rights in a second. What the courts say, and we already figured out what legislation is, right? So we got the legislation, we got the executive branch, we have the legislative branches weighed in on this. We'll talk about the judicial branch in a second, the federal courts and state courts and what they say. Stay tuned. This is the fleet. This is our fleet search. So that was our LPR search screen. This is our fleet search screen. Same things. Reason for search, date, case number, all the same fields for our in-car camera searches. Only thing difference here, you have a map because they're mobile. So it uses lat launch, right? It uses lat launch for location of the vehicle. But the state code addresses, remember, state code addresses LPRs. It does not address Flock, it doesn't address Axon, it doesn't address Genetec, Motorola Solutions, it addresses LPR. So all the vendors through VITA have to be approved before we can purchase them, and they have all the same requirements. We're at a breaking point. Any questions on that part? We're gonna get into case law in the code section next.
I'd like to know how much it costs to install all these cameras
Flock's $3,000 a camera
per unit.
per unit. $3,000. Fleet, I don't know off the top of my head. I can get that information for you, but I think it's less than that. But the stationary LPR is $3,000 per year. Yearly, annually,
3,000 a year?
$3,000 a year per camera.
And then what about storage?
It's included. It's included. It's we pay for it like we're paying a licensing fee, which all that's included in the contract.
You said VITA was the organization that has to authorize the vendor before they're purchased by a police department.
It's the state agency.
Do they have the requirements listed somewhere that we could read them?
I'm pretty sure if you go to their website, I'm sure they do. Yeah, I don't have that, but I'm sure they do. But it's a state agency. Yeah. Man, it's raining. All right, here we go. How's my data protected? VITA and CJIS. We haven't talked about CJIS yet. CJIS is owned and operated and directed by the FBI, right? Every system we use, every information system we do has to be CJIS compliant, right? And it's a list of standards. You can look them up. I didn't list them on here. It's a lot, but a lot of CJIS standards. And actually, we can actually be violated by the FBI if we violate CJIS standards. So on the state side, on the FBI side, right, there's a lot of checks and balances on data and security. Encrypted data. I put a handout in your. I put a handout. I think a side-by-side comparison for the data privacy and protection. I think I did. Is it in there? And it kind of highlights some of this. I can get a little bit more detail if you want, but I might bore you. I'll talk way over my head. Data is encrypted both when transmitted and while securely stored. Right, it is stored on So Flock is stored on AWS government cloud. So all your government agencies, all your three-letter alphabets, are all stored on the same servers. Fleet is served on evidence.com, which is also owned by AWS. Amazon Web Services, cloud infrastructure. We talked about that. I stole my own thunder. Only authorized users can access the system with role-based permissions and multi-factor authentication, right? So everything's role-based. Michelle has a different role than an officer on the street, right? They have different roles and permissions based on the system.
Can a Flock employee, do they have a role that allows them access to the data?
Only if we allow it by the contract and by code. The vendor, I'm sorry?
Do you?
What?
Do you allow them access to the data?
We have not have any system. Only if, no, not that I recall.
The only time that they're gonna be would on the back end, not the searching part of it or access, it's like we have to have a maintenance problem.
Yeah.
Or something. But
Yeah.
other than that-
By the contract and the state code, we control the data. Me as a chief, I control the data. I have to give access to the data. They don't have access to the data. And they can be criminally liable under the code. I'm sorry.
So the license plate readers that you said you used for 20 years prior, were those stored in local servers?
Man, that's a great question. I was in a different role I was in now. I don't know the answer to that, but I don't know if the cloud existed 20 years ago. So I think it was probably our own servers. I'm guessing. I don't know. I'm telling you, I don't know. But
Did the Culpeper Police Department explain why they made the decision to switch to cloud storage rather than
cost. Pretty much every information system we use is cloud storage because it is so expensive to keep everything internal. Our RMS CAS system now is cloud storage, web-based. Pretty much every system we use now is web-based cloud storage.
You said that you guys are the only ones that have access to use data. Is there that's under your contract? But is there like a user agreement for that third party or whoever does the storage? Does that say anything about having accessibility capability?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it is.
Okay. So it's not just limited to you guys. Things you know what you say. Well, just quickly. Now you see.
Yeah, but they can't by agreement. They can't access. They just can't willy nilly access it. It's good by agreement. I mean, they can be held liable. I mean, if this stuff was getting accessed all the time and we knew about it and everybody knew about it, nobody would be in business, right? So, I don't know. I will tell you this: Miami-Dade Police Department. There's a unit in the Miami-Dade Police Department called Viper. They are a anti-hacking, ransomware, criminal investigative unit. They're probably one of the best units in the world. They hired a bunch of hackers. They got a tip. They did. They did. You can look them up. It's called Viper. They had a tip, information that their flocks were being infiltrated and being hacked. They took that information. They took I think it was 8 months. You read the report. The guy that led the report, his name is George Pereira. I know him personally. He's the commander of the unit. They did a how to consultant. Their hackers went in and tried to hack the same systems they were told how to hack into it. They couldn't do it. Then they took several other months to try to hack into it freelance. All their hackers couldn't get into it. There's a full report. You can see it online of how they try to infiltrate the LPR system, and they couldn't do it. You can look it up. There's a couple YouTube videos of George Pereira talking about that. Go ahead.
What about if Homeland Security contacts you and said they're concerned about a terrorist in this area? They can access these data, is correct?
We can access it. They cannot. But under one of those drop downs is terrorist activity. They can access it. We can access it. They'll ask us, and we verify if it's really for a terrorist activity threat. That's one of the allowances under code that we can check it. We'll check it for them. That's allowable. That's a good question. Every search is audible. We kind of talked about it already. User, date, time, plate information, legitimate law enforcement purpose for the search. All that's required. All that's audible. Limit day retention. Culpeper Police Department maintains 21-day period. Less becomes evidence or otherwise lawfully required to be preserved. So if we have something that's a tag or photo becomes part of a robbery, or part of a homicide, part of a shoplifter, we can retain that longer than 21 days. Then it becomes a Library of Virginia and evidence. It's evidence. So it comes out evidence rules and Library of Virginia retention schedules. But that's the only time we keep it beyond 21 days. Does that make sense? And that's state code.
What about flock, though? They're not keeping it longer than 21 days?
Absolutely not. By law, they're criminally liable if they do. That's under the code section. We talk about flock, any LPR vendor.
Sure. Excellent.
Anybody. Talking about, there's some of the acronyms we were talking about earlier. I was trying to think of independent security standards. Flock, and I know Axon does this too. They do SOC Type 2 auditing, ISO security privacy certifications, and continuous vulnerability monitoring and independent security testing. I don't know what that consists of. I know what a little bit of the SOC 2 Type 2 is. I can't recite it in front of you, but you can Google it. But that's kind of the standard, the corporate standard for auditing for government. That's like the high standard. And that's in your handout for the comparison. Regardless of the vendor, Culpeper PD controls the access, retention, and authorized use when the requirements of Virginia law and department policy. That's what makes it work. We control the data. Every contract, the state code, accountability-wise, we control the data. We share who we want to share with by code. We won't share with everybody. There's a lot of Virginia agencies that have LPR technologies we don't share with. There's some we do. The rhyme or reason, if we get a request to share from another law enforcement Virginia agency, most of the time, as long as they're up and up and we do a little bit of research and they're following Virginia law, which everybody has to follow Virginia law, else I could put in jail, we'll share. But no federal agencies, no outside Virginia agencies. Whether discussing Flock or Axon, both incorporate multiple layers of cybersecurity, including encryption, access controls, authentication, audit trails, and limited retention. Again, and I stress this, technology is only one part of protecting the public. Law, policy, proper supervision, and accountability makes it work. That's what makes it work. That's what makes it work here, and that's what makes it work in other departments. Those departments are arresting their guys, that's on them. I can't speak for them, but it makes it work for us. And if somebody does misuse it, we'll hold them accountable. Questions? before we get started, the state code, and I know we kind of hit on state code already, but we're going to get into the next state code. We'll talk about law and success cases, and then we'll hear concerns from you guys. Go ahead.
Just a general question. If any of those things change in the future as far as not necessarily the state code, but what you have access to, like if Flock comes out with another algorithm or changes some of those drop downs, could we have like an update maybe in a year?
I think that's fair.
Months or something like
Yeah,
that?
yeah, that's fair.
You could argue that you were required by law to do that.
We're required by law. Yep, we are required by law. That's part of the good call. We're required by state code for any kind of enhancements of technology. Where it's a public engagement part, community transparency part that we have to follow by law. Just like the one vendor who's trapping electronic emissions from a vehicle. We talk about cell phone law and what's required to track cell phones and get cell phone data records and tower dumps. That's a whole different level, and I think that kind of falls, to me personally, I think that falls into that probable cause search warrant realm and not the reasonable suspicion realm and access. So LPRs, we can talk about speed cameras. At school zones, there's neighboring counties, so they have speed cameras at every school zone. Me personally, I just don't think that's a good policing model because I don't think people have due process, right? They do have due process, but I don't think it's as adequate as a human. We still want officers sitting in a school zone, if you're speeding in a school zone, to have that interaction, write that ticket, give them a warning, have a human interaction. But
Somebody that you can face.
yes, yep. So believe me, we have vendors that beat us up every day. They're begging to get in their doors. There are these license plate readers for speed enforcement, for school zones, construction zones, red light cameras. I know there's some other people in the room. They get beat up on it too. They want to come in, demo, and you got to beat them off with the bat. That is not a lie. So, having said that, Nick, you want to kind of come on and take over for Nick's our resident lawyer, our deputy chief, and he'll talk about state code and talk about the law and what the courts have said about ALPR. You want to use the mic? Turn that off. I can shut up.
Does it work? No? Got to hold it closer? Hold it closer. I can probably talk loud enough. All the men and women in the back can be like, he's plenty loud enough. He doesn't need the microphone. So I get the privilege of boring you with state code. Although I think most of us are pretty passionate about this particular code, I am too. I apologize now if I look a little tired. My 5-year-old granddaughter is in town visiting, and she has wore me out already. But she'd be pretty excited that I got the microphone because we're supposed to have a karaoke party tomorrow night. So y'all come on out and visit, and we'll do a little singing. State code, as Chief said, this was passed this past July, and there were some additions that came in this July. But what this code does, two things. He's talked about it. One, it gives some rules to the vendor, particularly related to contracts and what they can or cannot do with the data that is collected through the flock for the 21 days. And then it also tells us as law enforcement officers when we can use the system, right? And specifically how we have to use the system and nothing more. It provides a Class 1 misdemeanor charge if you are suspected or found guilty of violating this. This kind of was asked early, started to say it to the chief. He talked about disciplinary. I can tell you if someone violates this system in this office and they're found guilty of a Class 1 misdemeanor, it probably is required for the chief of police to move for decertification of that officer through the new standards of conduct for law enforcement in Virginia. And so that's another factor there that our officers have to keep in mind when they're using this system. He's already talked about this quite a bit. Authorized law enforcement scope, only used for law enforcement business. And what's important here is for reasonable suspicion of crimes that are committed, right? So the hit and runs that occur. And we get Michelle gets the white car and the first three of the tag are UKG. She can put in the hit and run code, go in, hit and run reason, go in and search a white car, first three UKG. All other cars are excluded. Even at that point, there requires more investigation by us to determine who it is, right? It only gives me the picture of the car that you saw and your tag number, And that's it. I have no idea who's driving it. Ma'am, you were talking about Fourth Amendment just a minute ago, and you were talking about all the cameras on your way to 29, and you're having some heart issues. I can assure you right now that nobody in this room in a uniform or wearing a badge had any idea that you had that problem. We didn't track you there.
Oh, no.
Right?
I'm not saying that.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that our Fourth Amendment right to travel freely across this country and
Yep.
not be watched is being impeded on by
Yeah.
all these cameras. It's not just.
You're not being tracked though, so we'll get to that. Yeah, we'll get to that with the case law. Yeah,
I've worked for the federal government. I worked in DC. I was a contractor.
I'm sorry.
I know that there are cameras everywhere.
There are. Yeah.
I'm just trying not that.
Yeah.
We are big, especially here in this county. We are big about standing up for our First Amendment rights. We are big about standing up for our Second Amendment rights. We need to be big about standing up for our Fourth Amendment rights also.
And we are here as well, all of us, and your Fifth Amendment right.
Yes, everything.
Yeah, but we'll get to the Fourth Amendment in a minute. Yeah. So it also talks about the other ones, tracing stolen vehicles, tags. Those get entered to hot lists, plates. Missing endangered children or missing endangered adults. I think there will be a case of that later, a success case for us. Or abducted persons. There will, I think, also be a case where we talk about success with this office in that. You see the next statute explicitly restricts bulk downloads, right? Mass tracking, harvesting, right? So in other words, unless you meet one of these criteria up here, we're not just going in on a daily basis and saying, let me see how many blue cars came through this camera at this time. So, sir, and I think you mentioned earlier, you come through Orange Road several times a day. Once you go past that camera and you're whatever, a half a mile or 2 streets over, we have no idea where you're going after that. We know only that you came through that camera at 5 o'clock today, and that's it. Nothing more. We could not tell you if you went to Walmart or Lowe's. Well, Lowe's could tell you if you came there, but we couldn't, right? Like we're not tracking where you're going. It's
Only
just,
if you're associated with the crime.
it's not only if you're associated with a crime would be the only time we could even search your tag number. Then you may or may not be driving the car at that point, right? How many of you let somebody else drive your car? Yeah. So we're not tracking you. And then the last part here, collected system data and associated data. This has been beat to death. And I think this is a good rule. This is one of the rules that just changed. It used to be, initially it was 30 days.
Well, this year was 0
days.
We set 30 days.
You'll see a case here in a little bit that's attached to this where data was being stored for 365 days by an office in Northern Virginia. But now it's 21 days, right? So we have, if you're suspected of a crime, we've got 21 days to search the system and find you in that system if you're there, right? You may not be there. We had that recently. And so that's pretty important. It's 21 days, and if you don't commit a crime, we have no idea that you came through one of our cameras. Vendors, right? This is an important one, because I know a lot of questions about Flock in particular, because that seems to be the big name right now, and that's also who we use. Vendors are legally prohibited from selling or sharing the data gathered in Virginia. Right, so for that 21 days, if your tag is in our system somewhere that we use, Flock cannot, they are legally prohibited from selling your tag number. Right, that's also important to remember. Flock does not have access to who you are, only a tag number. Right, we don't have access to who you are. For me to find out who's driving a car suspected of a crime, we then have to do some investigation and then eventually run that tag in the Department of Motor Vehicles database to find out who the registered owners are. It still may not tell me who was driving the car when they committed the crime. But Flock can't do it, right? They also have to notify us, there was a question here earlier, if they have received a subpoena or warrant for the data. So not only is it criminal that if you're involved in a case and you need access to the picture of the car that we're accusing you of being in, that's discovery side, the criminal side. There's also a thing called subpoena ducis tecum that is on the civil side. So if you're involved in a civil case and you think that Flock data has your car and it may help you some way in your case, your attorney can send a subpoena ducis tecum to Flock or to us and have us provide that data. So a court order can force us to turn the data over, right, to the court itself. ALPR architecture must fully comply with strict cybersecurity benchmarks. The chief's already talked about, and that's through VITA. All right, some case law. Now, all of these cases that we're going to talk about today have a nexus in Virginia. 3 are from Norfolk Police Department, and 1 will be from Fairfax County Police Department. And so I think that the key of the Fourth Amendment, right? The Fourth Amendment protects us against unreasonable searches and seizures, right? And unless it's of your paper, your houses, your persons, effects, and things, right? So I think everybody in here agrees that's a good thing. Great amendment, us included, right? However, when you start looking at these cases, you're going to find a common theme from the courts, not only the Court of Appeals, Virginia Supreme Court, but also the Eastern District of Virginia. And now there's some cases in front of the Fourth Circuit as well. Actually, one of these cases in front of the Fourth Circuit. Case in Robinson. The final ruling is, and I'm not going to go through all the facts of the case. If you want to know some, I'll be glad to meet with you afterwards and kind of talk about some of the facts, because all of these cases are lengthy when you start to read them. Robinson versus Conwell. Well, here's the other thing. Let's just clarify this. When the court's evaluating your Fourth Amendment, whether or not it was violated, the one thing that they're looking at is, does a reasonable person have expectation of privacy in this particular event, whatever it is, however we violated it, right? And that's what all these cases come from. Somebody says you violated my Fourth Amendment. The court's evaluating whether or not you really have an expectation of privacy in whatever you were doing, okay? In Robinson Commonwealth, this is a Norfolk case decided by the Virginia Court of Appeals. And you'll see in this case that the police, they decided after hearing all the evidence that the police do not need a search warrant to access ALPR systems, like flock safety. In this particular case, it was flock that was being used. And the court determined that capturing your license plate, and even mine, on a public road does not violate your reasonable expectation of privacy. Okay? So that's one case. Then we go into Neal v. Fairfax, right? Now, this was decided in 2020. So before the new laws even came into effect. And Fairfax was the one that was keeping the data for 365 days at this time. Right? Now, that's a lot. But when you read the Virginia Supreme Court's ruling in this case, they go on. They say that their passive ALPR database does not violate the state's Government Data Collection and Dissemination Practices Act. Right? The court held that an ALPR network is not an information system under the act because license plate photos require a separate search of the DMV database to link a vehicle to a specific person's name. Here's what I think is interesting about this case in particular is you see that the Supreme Court decided this, right? And so it started in the circuit court. And the circuit court said, yeah, this is not personal information. And actually what the Supreme Court did is they actually decided that this case, that the information on the tag, the date, time, GPS photo, because that's what Fairfax was doing, was personal information. But because that information had to be ran into a separate system. In other words, that picture of that license plate, it doesn't tell me that it's Nick White. It just gives a license plate. Nobody has any way of knowing who it is driving that car for the purpose of being able to track you. No idea. I just know it's a tag number.
But isn't that like a tower dump on a cell phone?
No, ma'am.
How is it different?
Right, because the tower dumps are a little bit different in the tower dump itself. Right, if you do a tower dump, I'm going to get generally your subscriber information. Then I'll be able to find out who you are. Right? You got a cell phone on you right now?
Yeah.
All right, if I did a search for your cell phone, it's going to tell me that you're sitting in that exact seat in this building right now. When you leave here and get in your car, I'm going to be able to show that you went to your car. And then when you leave there and you go home, I'm going to know where you live. A flock camera doesn't do that. You pass the flock camera.
My cell phone number, like if I had a burner phone.
Burner phone?
It's just a cell phone number.
Burner phones are a little bit different,
Yeah.
but we can still do some tracking.
Okay.
Depending on how good you. If you're, I'm a little bit like Chief. I'm not a huge IT guy, I grew up in West Virginia. We didn't even have computers when I went to school. Didn't even have typewriters for that matter. But so that's an example, right? This flock camera does not do that, right? It takes that initial picture, then that's it. After that, I have no idea where you go. I don't know who you're talking to. I don't know what floor you're on. I don't know what address you're at. I have no idea, right? So, but the court still decided, like, hey, there's no reasonable, this court decided Fairfax, Virginia Supreme Court, and then remanded it back to Fairfax again, and it was still decided that no, I mean, it's a plate on a public roadway that is open. Every one of you drove here tonight, right, or rode with somebody. Somebody saw your tag. They saw your car. Now, they're not government, right, and that's the big issue, right, about the Fourth Amendment. That's why we say Lowe's can have the system, and they have a different set of rules than we do as government. But the general idea, that's what the court says, is there's really no expectation of privacy when you decide to get into your car and drive along a public highway, right? I could see you. I as an individual, private individual, could stand at the corner of Walmart and take all the photos I want and record, right? And nobody could do anything. Yes, sir.
I think it all depends on what you call the system, because it's aggregation. When you, by itself, just the ALPR camera, sure, there's no way it's linking you. However, the algorithms that live in Flock software running on the cloud together with that data, then you're starting putting the pieces together. And so it's all like aggregation of the data is a problem.
Next case, we'll talk about that.
Yeah.
Next case, we'll talk about that.
Yeah.
Federal case.
I think I think we're good. Yeah, so let's move to the next slide. United States v. Martin. All right, you see this is a case out of, it's actually the federal supplement, so this was the Eastern District who decided this case, but the case originated in the areas of Richmond and Chesterfield. And here, again, they're talking about officers did not violate any reasonable expectation of privacy using flock data. Out of 2,500 vehicle photos taken over 30 days, only 3 depicted the defendant's car, underscoring how limited the system's coverage of any one vehicle actually is, right? So in that particular case, I guess you probably need some facts to kind of understand that a little bit. Mr. Martin stole some lottery tickets, right? And so the lottery folks put the stolen ticket numbers in a system, and Mr. Martin, I guess, won one of these tickets, and he decided to go try to cash it. Once he cashed it, the lottery police officials went to the store. They obtained some CCTV footage of him as well as his vehicle. They then provided the vehicle description, because they did not get a tag, vehicle description only, to law enforcement officials in the area. Law enforcement officials were able to do a search with the cameras, and they got a description of the car, and then they also tied him to a subsequent burglary after that search. And at one point, they had also even got a search warrant to put a GPS device on his vehicle. And so they tracked him to the location. So they used several sources. In order to get a GPS attached to your car, we have to have probable cause and we have to have a search warrant. It used to not be that way, right? That's Maryland v. Jones case that occurred because at one point some law enforcement officials, and I would tell you before it was case law, I used to do it too. I used to work narcotics. If we had a suspected drug dealer, there were a lot of times we would put GPS devices on their car. They parked at Walmart, we'd sneak up, put the device on, and that's how we tracked him. It used to be legal. It's not legal anymore, right? So we don't do it. So that's that case. Then Schmidt v. City of Norfolk. And this one is different from the rest because this is actually a civil case, right? So you have 2 folks who decided that they were going to test the system, right? They wanted to see how many times the flock system in Norfolk was going to read their license plates. Right? By all accounts, Norfolk has 172 to 179 flock cameras in their flock system. And the way it's described is they have those around 75 major clusters, major highways, major locations, etc. And so the folks decided to test this for a period of, I think it was 30 days. And they went in, drove around. One of the vehicles was read like 425 times. The other vehicle had been read 375 times. And they challenged that fact, saying that it was a violation of their Fourth Amendment for expectation of privacy, right? It was an unreasonable search of their data. And the courts have gone back and forth, right? So, well, not back and forth. Actually, the folks, Schmidt and Arrington, were the two people, they have lost every step of the way. They lost most recently in the Eastern District of Virginia, and now it's under appeal to the Fourth Circuit, right? Eastern District gave what they call a summary judgment to the defendants. The defendants in this case is the Norfolk Police Department, City of Norfolk, right? And what they said is that the use of the APLR as configured and used in that case did not violate the Fourth Amendment because the system does not continuously track or reconstruct the whole of a person's movements. And you see there it's on appeal. So same concept of the reason it's not violating your expectation of privacy at this point is because we're not tracking movements. The system that we currently use, I think that's important, right? Configured and used right now. With what we have right now, you pass a camera where you take your picture, that's it. Unless you're involved in a crime, a missing or endangered person, human trafficking, maybe a terrorist threat, or a stolen vehicle, we never have any idea that you were in the town of Culpeper ever. Okay? Same as a camera on a roller coaster. I just had that the other day at King's Dominion. Took my granddaughter there. She looked like she was having a lot more fun than I was.
So these cameras have no Bluetooth?
No Bluetooth.
No.
No, sir. Absolutely none. And I think that the chief and I are probably the same on this. If we get into that, that's where you start getting into cell phones. And there's a lot of Supreme Court cases out about cell phones. Big ones are Carpenter, a new one called Chatry, talk about cell phones. And I think the big distinguish there between cell phones and flock, a license plate, is license plate, again, I have no idea where you go after you pass the camera, right? You pass a camera on Orange Road, you might go on Sunset, you might go into High Point, you might go all the way across town to Lakeview, right? No, we don't know. With the cell phone, though, there's technology out here that if you've got it in your hand, we can tell you pretty much within a foot where you're at, where you've been, to include if you're on the 4th floor of a building or the 1st floor. In order to get that information, we have to have search warrants if we need it. So that's a big distinction, and I think it's really, you'll hear the courts kind of talk about that a little bit, particularly in Schmidt, and in Robinson. They talk about a couple of different cases. Baltimore had a case here a while back where they were using aerial surveillance, and they were recording vehicles 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and they did it for 90 days, right? And the courts came back and said, no, absolutely, you can't do it. You're actually tracking people, right? And so that's a big distinguish with what these cameras are doing right now. Now, there's not to say, any IT folks in here, I mean, technology develops, I can't keep up with it. I don't even like the computers we have. So if we get to that point, I do think it's important. The state code says that when a vendor comes in, there's new information, new technology, we are required to have another town forum just like this. Either before we use it or coincidental to, is exactly how the code is written. Coincidental to, we have to notify the town that we're using this technology, it's out here, and it's going to be used, you need to know, and let you have some discourse on that. I saw a question back here, sorry.
Yeah, no, I was just gonna ask, so I understand that individually, the one camera shares that point, but then if you're accessing the remaining cameras, they have timestamps, they have all information limit, you are creating track. Well, I'm sorry, the camera isn't doing, the single camera isn't doing it, so the network face should you actually use those timestamp track moving.
Martin talked about that. Talked about using multiple cameras to pinpoint vehicles. Using it, I think they said a rudimentary approach to point to point. We have 13, so yeah, point to point. So what the court said was that detectives and officers who are putting those connections together, along with other information systems available to law enforcement, that really doesn't violate Fourth Amendment because it's only using LPR standalone. No other system that you're using, that detectives are using here. They're putting those pieces together. Detective work, good police work, doesn't violate the Fourth Amendment because of the standalone of LPR.
And to add to that, I would say you go through all 13 of our cameras today. I know you were in the town of Culpeper, that's it. I don't know if you went to Walmart or to Buffalo Wild Wings or to Angry Wives Brew House or Fargon. Right? We have no idea. We just know that you came into the town of Culpeper.
You also wouldn't know at all unless there was a hit.
Would not know at all, yeah, unless we suspected you of a crime, right? So that's important too. We can't search a system just because, as a matter of fact, let me read the code specifically, because I looked it up just a minute ago.
And while he's looking that up, we had a case this is a real use case. We had a, Wingraves, Virginia, Police Department had a homicide last week. A brother shot a brother 3 times in the head. Suspect was known to be in Culpeper. The vehicle he was associated was known to be in Culpeper. They provided us the vehicle information, the tag information. We ran through a flock system because it was in connection with the homicide. We, as a chief of police and as a manager, and as everyone's officer inspector, we would like to know, and as far as citizens, you would like to know if you have a murder suspect in Culpeper.
Yes.
And it was great to know that that vehicle had, we had all kinds of flock history leading up to the time of the homicide, but after the homicide, there was no vehicle history in town. So sometimes it's good to know when a criminal is not in your town, right? And not to say the suspect wasn't in town, but at least we knew, we had real-time intelligence that the offender's car that he was known to be driving was not in the town of Culpeper. And for me as a chief, when you use a citizen going to bed at night, I felt a little bit better knowing that that person, at least the vehicle, wasn't in the town of Culpeper after the homicide.
Yeah. So to kind of go with yours too, is another subsection in here is not omitted in any slide. It says a law enforcement agency shall not use a system for the purpose of interfering with individuals engaged in lawful activities or tracking individuals on the basis of the content of lawfully protected speech. And that's in the code, same code that we've been talking about all night. And I saw another hand, Mr.
And those 13 stationary cameras, they're only seeing a car entering the town.
Yes. So the placement of the cameras, we decided to place the cameras for entry of town, and I'm going to talk about this in the next group of slides. What we found and what the intelligence tells us is people from outside of our communities are coming in our community committing violent crime, right? So we want to capture those tags of people coming into our town committing violent crime and leaving our town. And we got case study after case study after case study after case study of this occurring. And they're targeting small towns, as we know, because of limited resources, right? We're a small town, limited resources. We're not Fairfax, we're not Arlington. They're coming down from Maryland, Montgomery County, Richmond, committing violent crimes and leaving. That's why we put them at the entry points of town.
Yeah, so that's kind of my presentation that I have. I think the officers back here will tell you, and I know the chief feels this way. None of us in this building want to violate your Fourth Amendment rights. We talk about it. We go through case law every year. We're required to do legal updates. I follow up on case law, particularly with this type of stuff, quite often. And so, that's just not happening here, right? And if it does, then we'll handle it internally. We're going to tell you. Yeah, you're going to know that it happened, and you're going to be made aware. And all the important folks within the criminal justice system will be made aware as well. No, any other questions for me before I turn it back over to the chief? None.
The decertification process for Virginia decertified police officers for all actions, it's also called it. It's public record. You can say decertification to officers who get decertified for those type of reasons. It's public through DCJS. We had a little break here. Questions? I know. Any other questions as far as legal? And then so, last part, and we're going to end this up. We'll leave the floor to you guys. There are human stories behind this technology. We can talk about the technology. We can talk about the code section. We can talk about Fourth Amendment. We can talk about case law. There are human stories how we're able to solve violent crime, not just violent crime, any crime. Like, if you get hit and run in Walmart parking lot, well, don't you want to know who the damn offender is? I do. We should hold everybody accountable. that's what we do. But seriously, with violent crimes, we certainly want to know those persons. This case here, one of the first successful cases back in 2023. The first set of LPRs we got. LPR alerted a vehicle associated with a wanted person who had active warrants and was wanted for questioning for a sexual assault and abduction of a small child that happened the night before in Fauquier County. Fauquier County called us next morning, said, hey, we got this sexual assault offender, abduction offender, abducted a child, a little girl. Within 30 minutes of us putting into our LPR system, sure enough, here he is, driving through Culpeper. Our officers do a great job. We have to find him, right? We have to go search that area and try to find his truck. We found the truck. We were able to arrest him within 30 minutes of them contacting us looking for this bad guy to put him in jail for what he did. That's the human story behind this technology. If used properly, under proper governance, under proper code section, under proper policy and supervision and accountability. This is what it does. This is only what it does. We did a press release on this. Organized retail thieves, apprehended, multi-jurisdictional pursuit. We had a group out of Baltimore, Maryland, who were going up and down the East Coast, and our detectives are back here, they're very familiar with this case, hitting Walmarts and Targets from Georgia to South Carolina to Maryland to Virginia to Pennsylvania. The FBI, the mighty FBI, they created a task force to try to find this group. Michelle and somebody else, they knew we had a vehicle description of this car and the tag number with their known associate. They hit us before. They hit Target and Walmart's before in Culpeper. So we put it on our hot list. So if they come back into town, our officers were really good. They knew when they hit that. So we get their alerts through our cell phones. We get an alert to the cell phone. The officers get an alert through their cell phone. One officer goes to Target, one officer goes to Walmart, right? And they go look for it. They found the car at Target. They gotta be damned. So they sell in the car, the people come out, loaded full of stolen stuff. They put it in the car, we approach them, they flee, they almost run over one of our officers, a pursuit. The sheriff's office gets in a pursuit, we chase them 29, their vehicle rolls over at Atlantis Road in 29 trying to flee. We arrest them. Federal charges. An East Coast retail theft ring, we solve it in Culpeper. They come in our community, commit these crimes. This is what the technology does. Without the technology, yeah, we may have luck. Our police officer might have went to the Walmart parking lot or a Target parking lot, may have saw the car. The likelihood is probably very unlikely. Another big case. ALPR. We had I think we put a press release on this. Merchants Grocery. We had a group of Cuban nationals, a gang out of Miami-Dade, Florida, was operating and committing burglaries at commercial wholesale grocers that has wholesale cigarettes, right? We know everybody knows wholesale cigarettes is a big market in New York City, untaxed cigarettes. They've been hitting Arkansas, Texas, North Carolina, Kentucky, all these areas. Michelle and Detective Hayes, I believe, they won a statewide award for this case. This is a big, huge case. So these group of Cuban nationals come in, break into Merchants Grocery, steal $800,000 worth of cigarettes. That's wholesale. Retail, black market, probably about $4 million. They also steal the cargo truck at Merchants. They load the cigarettes up. Through LPR technology, we were able to piece together with other technologies, right? Our detectives are piecing, our analysts are piecing these things together. We're able to track the truck to New Jersey, found the truck in New Jersey through other information systems and search warrant required ways of tracking cell phones. They were on the run. We were tracking them. We had warrants for them. We were following them. They went to Arkansas or Texas, we called them. They were in Texas, this town in Texas.
They were in Texas and then they fled back to Florida.
Florida. They were in Texas, and we were following them in Texas through cell phone data records. We told the agency in Texas, hey, these group is staying, they're somewhere in your town, they're in a hotel. That's where their MO, their investigation. They stayed at hotels the night before, they break in these places. Do you have a wholesale distributor in your town? The police department down there says, yes, we do. You're going to get hit tonight. They're there. Guess what happened that night? They got hit. They hit Kentucky, Indiana, Hayes, everywhere else.
Yeah, there's Kentucky, Indiana, North Carolina, Pennsylvania, Michigan, Florida, South Carolina.
The FBI was working cases on these guys, couldn't put a case on them. We put a case in Culpeper, Virginia because of the LPR technology, the way properly using this technology under proper governance and proper supervision. Big case. Stolen vehicle, we've had a lot of stolen vehicles and a lot of pursuits for stolen vehicles. Stolen vehicles of a juvenile, we kind of chased him around town. He ditched the vehicle, damaged the vehicle, but we were able to put charge, and actually we are possession of burglar's tools and some other related charges on a juvenile and a stolen car in town. That's 2024. 2025, alert, stolen vehicle from York County. They had a stolen car in York County. They put it in NCIC. All stolen cars go into the national database. It goes through an alert. It hit through our LPR. We locate the person at a local business, take it into custody. Again, a lot of these cases we find possession of drugs. A lot of times in these cases we get drugs, we get guns, we get Lord knows what else when we make these stops. That's what the technology does under proper governance. Go ahead.
Do you input the data yourself into the flock system? You said when you get a hit on a tag.
Not in this case, no.
No, not on this case in particular. I just mean the town of Culpeper. You put in, we are looking for this tag or whatever information you know about it.
We can put our own hot list in on a case that we're investigating. We can put our own information in the vehicles we're looking for.
So in this instance, coming from York County would have had to put the information into the flock system that you were able to ping against.
No.
They put
You-
it into
NCIC.
They put it into a national database, but if it runs through
NCIC.
any jurisdiction,
Anywhere in the country.
that they're gonna get notified.
So if a police officer with their human eyes, a stolen vehicle, so a stolen vehicle anywhere in the country, they put it in NCIC. NCIC is a national database for the criminal histories, stolen articles, stolen vehicles, concealed. It tells you if you have a concealed weapon. It tells you if sex offender registry. What else it tells us? What else? Anything else? What else it tells us? Anyway, it warrants. So when when that officer takes that report for that stolen vehicle, they put it into the national database. So that national database, every couple hours, every day, it creates a hot list, and that gets loaded into the hot list, and it's integrated with Flock in all LPR systems. And then when that vehicle hit our LPR, boom, it hit. We have a stolen vehicle in town. We find it. We got to find it. We don't know where it's at. We find it. This is the result. Yeah. Here's another big case. Some people in the room might be very familiar with this case. Check forgery case, multi-state check forgery case, right? Who's forging checks anymore, right? Who even writes checks anymore? I can't tell you last time I wrote a check. This guy still writes checks.
Don't put them in the mail.
Don't put them in the mail. God, we got a lot of cases of stolen checks in the mail. LPR utilized to identify suspects, vehicles on a check forgery case, a large check forgery, multi-state check forgery case. Suspect vehicle alert on the LPR in another jurisdiction over in the valley. I forgot the name of the jurisdiction. I think it was Woodstock.
Yes,
Little tiny Woodstock. All great things come out of Woodstock. Woodstock, Virginia. Again, we tracked that vehicle, 81, through LPR, the networks. They were arrested in Maryland, right? Maryland?
No, they were arrested in Shenandoah.
Shenandoah. I think Woodstock arrested them? That's rare. They're arrested we're arrested in Shenandoah County. We did a press release on it. Maryland, Virginia, check forgery, check case. Yeah, it's simple, but it could have been you. It could have been me. It could have been my mother. My mother just got ripped off on a scam. These guys, they have human consequences, human stories behind all these cases. Proper governance, proper policy, supervision. This is what matters. This is how the system's used. No matter what you read out there, this is how the system's used. This is the case. Female, grocery shopping at Walmart, gets abducted. People from all these cases, what's the nexus to all these cases? What's the common denominator? Everyone's not from Culpeper. They're coming in Culpeper committing crime. Group of people come into Culpeper, I forgot where they're from, not from Culpeper. They abduct a female just on her way, just shopping at Walmart. They put her in her own car, they go. We don't know about it because it's not reported. So what happened is the suspects were driving, we found where after it was reported, they took her to Orange County to her house, robbed her house, did a home invasion of her house, took our possessions. They left her there. She calls Orange County Sheriff's Office. They contact us, we do investigation. Michelle and again, humans behind technology, what makes it work. Detectives, analysts go back, look at CCTV video. They know that they see her walking out. They see these guys kind of walking with her. They see some of these people go to a black SUV. They see some of them go to her car, put her in her car. LPRs then detect her car, because we know her car, right? We know her tag number. We put it in, go through LPR, and then a couple of LPRs going from there to Orange County, we see a black SUV 2 or 3 seconds behind it, right? Following it on the images. We get that tag number, where to track suspects. We tracked it through LPR technology to Fredericksburg that same day. They go to a hotel room, right, Richard? Hotel room? They go to a hotel room in Fredericksburg. We contact Fredericksburg. Detectives from Fredericksburg are watching them at the hotel all night to wait until they come out. We don't know what room they're in. Somehow, during the course of the night, don't know, Fredericksburg didn't see him leave. They called us and said, we lost them. The car's not here anymore. Don't know. I can't speak on behalf of Fredericksburg. We're like, Dad, we had him. With it, was it Stafford? Oh, I'm sorry, Stafford. Everybody recorded Stafford. Not Fredericksburg, sorry, Chief Mason. Stafford. A couple minutes later, the vehicle shows up on LPR, hits LPR in King George County. A good, sound deputy from King George County stops the car. The black SUV, suspects are in there. All her possessions are in the vehicle along with her cash and jewelry. We were able to get it back to her. That case was solved within 12 hours. An abduction, a random abduction. We didn't know who the people were. They were, I think they were from all over the place. Coming to Culpeper because nobody knows them. We would not have solved that case in 12 hours. I would tell you, we would not have. Not to say we wouldn't have solved it, but hey, we were solving cases before LPRs, right? I hear the argument, y'all solve cases before LPRs. That is true, but not in the efficiency of this. Not within 12 hours. We wouldn't have. Yeah, we probably would have solved the case. I would have liked to think we would have solved the case without LPR technology and other technologies. Not in 12 hours. We were provide victims, services, closure within 12 hours and got her possessions back with the next morning after she was abducted and taken and robbed. Again, that's what the system does. We had a brandishing firearm case, June 24, 2026. It just happened. Near school zone, almost in the school zone, but it was a few feet outside. Road rage incident. Somebody pulls a gun on another person on road rage. Only through LPR resources, we're able to identify the suspect and make an arrest within minutes for brandishing a firearm. And another motorist. Now, look, this is still pending, so we got very limited information on this. Suspect involved in a sexual assault of a 13-year-old girl. Suspect put in LPR, alerted officers to a known wanted person. Suspect was arrested for carnal knowledge of a child. We were able to track the suspect down. This is still pending. We're still looking for another suspect, right? In this case. Arrested for carnal knowledge of a child. Suspect taken to custody without incident. We would have found him. Yes, we would have found him. But not at the efficiency and time. In some of these cases, minutes, hours, days matter. They matter. So yes, we were solving crimes before LPR. Damn right we were. But not in this way. Not in this way. Here's a case, not a crime. This is a silver alert citizen, patient with Alzheimer's. Left in his vehicle from North Carolina. His daughter lives in Tidewater area, reported missing. And I'll play, you ready there, Nick? It's May 23rd, 2025, Flock LPR, notified Culpeper Police Department officers that the vehicle registered to a missing endangered adult. Remember, so missing endangered adults can go in the system as well. Also, abducted kids, endangered kids can go in the system as well. So whoever they're reporting, her daughter in North Carolina or in Tidewater reported missing, they put them in the system, NCIC, back to NCIC, as endangered adult. And 3 days later, he's been missing for 3 days. I think it was 3 days he was missing. The daughter had him pretty much deceased at this point. She had no hope, right? Because they had some issues with him before. They kind of had him as deceased. I'm sorry, let me go back. I hit the play button, Nick. Two of our officers, two outstanding officers, Meadows Moran, located him at a gas station. He was pumping gas. I forgot to help you
You know where you're at? I'm about 35 miles. Well, you're in the state of Virginia. You're hospital, right? And I'm like, oh, you know, listen, we're over here, it's in Culpeper. We're gonna call your daughter, don't you talk to your daughter, location, and then she's gonna come up, and she's gonna pick you up, right? We do,
As I said before, hearing that video, listening to that video still makes my hair on the back of my neck stand up. This is what it does. There is countless stories just like this across the country, how LPR technology is bringing persons with dementia and Alzheimer's back safely, abducted kids. Again, as much disinformation is out there about LPRs, there's a lot of cases just like this out there bringing loved ones back to their family members unharmed. Without LPR technology, we wouldn't have found this guy. Somebody else may have. He may have went off. He may have died. We don't know. But luckily, that's what the technology was there for. We were able to find him at a gas station. Again, the LPR that he hit on was probably a mile, 3/4 of a mile away from the gas station. So those officers, when they got that hit, they, especially endangered adult, they really take notice to go try to find that car. And they were scouring that area. They found him pumping gas at a gas station, about 3/4 of a mile away. Again, that's just some of the cases. We had a case, and I'll wrap one last case up, and this is it. We had a case where Southgate Shopping Center, a bank, the guys from Maryland, Montgomery County, Maryland, they were doing Shenandoah Valley as well. They were driving up to ATM machines, wrapping a chain around it, pulling off, and yanking the whole ATM machine out of the ground, stealing all the money out. They were doing it all over the place. We had a case on a Sunday morning. It was a rainy Sunday morning. I remember going out there. It was a mess everywhere in the whole parking lot at Southgate Shopping Center. We were able to put an LPR. We had a vehicle description. We were able to develop a tag through the camera. We put an LPR. We tracked them back. We knew they were from Montgomery County, Maryland. Again, coming back into Culpeper, committing crime, and leaving Culpeper. We were able to get the tag. We were able to track them through LPR. The Montgomery County Police Department, one of the techs probably working this case is here. They were sitting in the driveway in their yard waiting for them when they got back. It was early in the morning to arrest them. They still had the money in the car, correct?
Correct. Yeah, they were waiting outside their storage unit where they were parking.
Thank you.
Stolen car.
Yeah, that's what it does. Within a couple hours of the crime, literally within a couple hours of the crime. Again, the LPR technology by itself wouldn't solve the crime. It's detectives, hard work, putting that information together, getting to the right people, calling Montgomery County, Maryland. That's what the technology does. We have hundreds and hundreds of solved cases through LPR technology for these. If we know through this technology, we have made arrests on these type of cases. Michelle can give you probably 3 or 4 cases, 5 cases this week. LPR case has solved the crime, probably this week. Is that fair? Hit and runs, larcenies, thefts, this week. So our solvability rates, when we talk about solvability rates and holding people accountable, has gone up, which is a good thing. That's what we want. Again, there's human stories behind all these cases. That's all the information I have, and I will open it up for anything that we didn't answer, any questions or comments or concerns, we will certainly take.
I know that I've been one worrying you all night.
I like it. I like it. I like it.
But I just want to say, even though I have concerns about our Fourth Amendment rights, I do want to say how much we appreciate every one of you officers and you as chief and the way that you conduct yourself on Culpeper, because it's very important to us as citizens.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. And every one of those guys sitting, and the gals, I'm sorry, Brittany, and anybody else back there. I'm sorry, Catherine too. Catherine Payne, why did you text? She's so short, I didn't see her back there. His lights are really bright too. Every one of those officers who text back there, they take pride in their work. They want to put bad guys behind bars, hold people accountable. This is an investigative tool. In my 30 years of being a police officer, there's been no investigative tool that has had the impact on crime and on clearance rates and solvability rates than this technology. Again, but it's got to be used properly. It's got to have proper governance, proper oversight, accountability, protection. If it's all those in play, this is the greatest technology that I have seen for solving crime. And as a chief of police, it's my responsibility to protect the citizens of Culpeper in this community. And I will use whatever means, tools under the color of the law necessary to do it. And right now, under the judicial, the legislative, executive branch of the government, and under code and case law, this is an available tool that we can use to bring these stories to closure and provide victims services immediately and get property back and put bad guys behind bars where they belong. And that's what I'm going to continue to do. And we're going to use it responsibly. And if somebody acts up and messes up, a police officer, we'll hold them accountable, right? Under the color of the law.
That makes me feel.
Under the color of law. We've done it before, not for Flock, but for other systems. We've done it before. We'll continue to do it. And I will use every tool necessary to protect you guys and protect our children, protect our elders, protect our senior citizens under the color of the law. And that's my promise to you.
Thank you.
Question?
You guys have 10 and beyond legend, so you hopefully know Culpeper police officer, whatever use this, and you underscore like proper oversight, etc. But would the police department or maybe you already have having this discussion that what would it take to follow suit if there were concerns with the external, you're trusting a private entity with this stuff?
I understand.
So, there are other municipalities that ended their contracts over those concerns. So have you discussed what it would take to reach that?
If they provide technology, that, again, like example, if their current vendor, if we know they breached their contract, if they sell third party, if their employees are breaching it, then you would yank those contracts and yank them off the polls tomorrow. That's my promise. That's the only thing. Until that, we'll continue to use them. Again, we use Axon too. The sheriff's office uses Axon camera LPRs as well. They have them in their cars as well. They have had some successful use cases as well out in the county. So we will continue to use them. But yes, but you're right. If any vendor, not just Flock, Axon, AirCAD RMS vendors. We have so many vendors. Like I said, we're so vendor reliant in law enforcement today. If any one of them breached contract or did something moral and unethical, we would pull the plug immediately. And that's my promise to you guys. I'll yank them off the pole tonight. That's the only thing I can say to you about that. But again, if they did that, they'd be out of business pretty quick. Not because of us, because of you guys too. We will both together put them out of business. Jamie?
I just want to echo what she said. I truly appreciate your transparency and all of y'all do to keep us safe in the town. You're out there on the lie. I didn't use any of this information to apprehend individuals who are sexually assaulting youths. I use me. I don't mind if a picture of me is taken for a half second.
A picture that I've used not being taken. A tag. The license plate.
My girl on Facebook and I have body camera. I just truly appreciate everything y'all are doing and be super transparent, answering all the questions and everything you're doing, tipping the people behind bars that need to be behind.
Thank you. Thank you guys. Well, again, my information is available. Please call the police department. Don't call 911. That's another crime. But call the non-emergency number. You can call me directly anytime you want. If you hang around, go get a bunch of cards. You can email me if you have any questions. We'll be glad to answer them anytime. And I love this. This community, I love it. I wish we'd have more of it. We have bi-monthly community watch meetings. We talk about issues like this. So please come. We have them every other month or every quarter now. We feed you. So come. But we wish you guys a safe night, safe travel home. It's raining out there, and we appreciate it. And if you have any questions or concerns going forward, reach out to us. We'll answer any questions you have. All right? Thank you so much. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.